What Ruturaj Gaikwad is losing as a captain, and I feel a lot of reasons why CSK, even after getting so much of penalties in terms of player getting injured, still I feel that Ruturaj Gaikwad needs a flavor of MS Soni to change the destiny of the team. And I mean, what is interesting about this guy is that as a captain is that it's not that he lacks any kind of cricketing IQ, or it's not that he doesn't understand the game, and it is definitely not a skill issue. The real issue feels very mental to me, because when you watch him bat and then watch him as a captain, it almost feels like two different people. So as a batter, Ruturaj looks elegant. He tries to dominate. He looks very calm in control manner, and but as a captain, I feel there are moments where he looks like he's carrying too much noise inside his head, and that changes everything, because then you can see him struggling with his batting as well. So captaincy is in cricket is very different as a tactics altogether, and we need to understand why it is very different. Because you see that anybody can set a field. To everybody who watches cricket, anybody can set a field. Anybody can rotate the ballers according to their whims and fancies, and set papers and set tones. And anybody can read matchups from a laptop nowadays. There is a lot of data that is being involved in such matches. But elite captaincy is more than that. That is very emotional. That is very emotional control that you have under the chaos. The MS Dhoni has that ability to understand his emotional vulnerabilities during the chaos, and he tries to push himself. Thrives himself during those times, and that is the ability to make the dressing room feel lighter. And when the game is heavy, you try to make people solid in their minds and try to communicate them in much better ways. And right now, I think Ruturaj is slowly losing one thing that made him special as a player. That is the freedom to understand the game in the much eloquent manner. Because earlier, you see, when he came to bat, there was clarity. Play your game, simple. Now the brain is divided into 50 tabs simultaneously. What will be the bowling combinations, impact player calculations, overrate pressure, senior player management, media scrutinies, fans comparing him to the legends, team morale. There is always an auction balance as well. Tactical criticism after every loss. I was watching this interview of Robin Uthappa, and he told that this team was made under the whims of Ruturaj Gaikwad. So there is a lot of added pressure on him as well. So, and somewhere like in all this, his natural instinctive self starts disappearing altogether. And that is the first thing in the captaincy that is taking away from him. That is what is called instinct. And instinct is dangerous to lose in T20 cricket, because T20 rewards the very fact that you have the decisiveness in crunch moments. So even when wrong aggressive decisions sometimes work better than confused safe decisions altogether. But Ruturaj sometimes looks stuck between, should I attack or should I stabilize the game? Should I be the anchor of the innings? And that reflects in his batting as well. And that hesitation spreads into the team energy too. Now, if you compare that with the captains who dominated mentally, the biggest trait they have is that they're not genius. They have conviction altogether to what they're doing. They have honesty towards what they are trying to build in the team and what they are trying to dominate in the field. So even when they fail very loudly. But Ruturaj, I feel that sometimes the body language becomes too internalized. He's too silent, too absorbent kind of a man. He absorbs pressure instead of transferring it and understanding it, that if how to deviate my pressure to someone who can be skillful at this juncture or at this point of time. And great captains transfer pressure outward very, very clearly. So another thing that he's losing, I feel, that his emotional sharpness, and this is very subtle. I feel you can actually see moments where he becomes too composed. He does not react. There's no involvement in the game that you feel from his face. Now people think that calmness is good, but then again, there's a difference between calmness and emotional suppression altogether. So some captains need very visible intensity to activate their team, like Virat Kohli, like that of Shreyas Iyer. They need that visible intensity. If you see the leaders across eras, sometimes the dressing room needs emotional signals. There should be a stare at your players. There should be a reaction. There should be a spark. I feel that Ruturaj often says and stays in one emotional frequency, which becomes invariably very dangerous. That the players are also confused into what section and what paradigm they have to perform. And while that looks classy on the pitch, on the screen, it can sometimes reduce the urgency in the crunch moments, especially in T20s. I was listening to this interview of Virat Kohli that he was having a chat with KL Rahul, and they were discussing about how fast this game has become. Like a football match, every ball is a decisive moment. It can change the momentum of the game. So, and then, of course, comes the biggest burden: comparison culture in a country. The moment you captain a franchise like Chennai Super Kings, you're not just captaining a team. You are inheriting a system altogether. There is a legacy behind this. There is an expectation architecture to what he's feeling in, and that is very dangerous psychologically, because what subconsciously it does, you stop asking what kind of a captain am I, instead of starting wondering what would the previous captain would have done. And that is where individuality dies. You do not act in persona of your own self, but in the shoes of another person altogether. You can actually feel him trying to balance, his own personality and with the inherited identity of the team that he has to cater it. And honestly, that is one of the hardest things for any young captain, because fans don't allow any transition periods anymore. Every tactical move becomes, would Dhoni have done this? Would Dhoni have changed this? So every field placement becomes, the old CSK would not do that. And that pressure can slowly make a captain overthink every decision. And overthinking is poison in any kind of leadership, especially when sports leadership, because one self-doubt and that chips in your mind between the instinct and the action, the timing of your decision collapses. So, and cricket is just about what is your timing, how well you understand your timing of your decision, your batting, your bowling, anything that you do on the field. So not just batting timing, there is a mental timing as well, that you take decision at the right time. Now what I feel, and this is what I can understand, that what Ruturaj can actually do better. First thing, he needs to become more externally communicative. People like him should not be performative. There should be no dramatic around him, but there should be communicative around him. He should be communicative to the people and the players around him. Right now his leadership feels very inward. Sometimes teams need visible command altogether. The best captains constantly create the presence. For like some Dhoni, no matter how much calmness he shows, but he gives his pills to players if in the crunch moment, and he makes sure that the decision does not mix the other person, vice versa. You can do anything. You can engage more in talking to bowlers, changing the energy of the field, showing the intent at the field, making players feel protected at outside the field. So a captain's body language literally affects the bowling rhythm, and Ruturaj can improve massively there. I feel that Virat Kohli is a prime example of how his whole body can channelize the team member, and you can see the difference between when he start acting as a person who is trying to change and maneuvering the minds of every individuals in the team. Secondly, I feel that he has to stop carrying the perfect captain burden, and this is very, very important. Some captains become too image conscious, trying to look composed, trying to avoid the mistakes every time that they do, trying to appear tactically mature. But leadership is messy, and Rituraj has to accept it, because sometimes your boldest decision will fall publicly, and that is okay. The team trusts the courage more than any kind of hesitation that you have in yourself. Thirdly, I feel that he should separate batting identity from the captaincy identity. Right now, I feel that when captains struggle tactically, it often affects the batting tempo too. You see confusion in the same way you see in your captaincy. So you can see him sometimes batting with responsibility overload instead of there should be a flow. He needs a mental switch altogether. When I bat, I am only a batter, and that separation is very, very crucial, because otherwise every innings becomes very emotionally political to his own mind. Fourthly, I feel that he needs stronger in game aggression. He needs to understand that he has to get his anger controlled. I would not say there should be anger, but I would rather say that he should inhibit a controlled aggression altogether. And there's a difference between an anger and controlled aggression, because right now his aura is very elegant, but captaincy sometimes requires imposing some kind of psychological pressure on your players, on your bowlers, especially in IPL level cricket, where momentum is almost theoretical. Sometimes opponents should feel your intent. They should feel Ruturaj is coming at it. He's changing something. He's trying to dominate the field, and it does not come just with the field placement. You do have to add extra point to that. Fifth, I feel that he should trust his young players publicly and visibly. And this is personally what I feel, that one underrated things elite captains do is that they create fearlessness in others. They make sure that each member of the players in the team should feel equally fearlessness in their heart and courage, and they can perform on the field with their utmost intent and confidence. Youngsters perform better when the captain visibly backs them after the failure. There should be not silence. There should be publicly you should have to support them, but because confidence in T20 cricket is a highly social game, and when the captain radiates that kind of a trust, team suddenly becomes braver, and you can see the change in the field. Another important point is that Ruturaj should stop trying to fit in any kind of legendary captaincy template that he's internally trying to fall on, because you can see in his decision what he's trying to contemplate. Because the biggest mistake successors make is the imitation of his the previous one, and you cannot become an elite captain by recreating another personality. That never works. So the game eventually exposes the authenticity gaps. His best version will come when he captains like Ruturaj, not like a continuation project which CSK has given him. And honestly, I still think that he has a captaincy potential, because one thing cannot be taught, that is composure under the spotlight. He naturally has that. What he lacks right now is expressive authority, and that usually develops with a lot of scars like these. And that cannot come with tutorials. Not interviews. You cannot. You need experiences. You need losses. You have to take bad decisions. You have to take that media hit onto yourself. There should be a dressing room turbulence, and that is where great leaders are manufactured. So I feel that if you could combine all of these shit, so like instinctive freedom, emotional sharpness, there should be spontaneities in his decision, the batting distinction, mental clarity during the pressure moments. If he can come with more conviction, more visible leadership energy, faster decision, convicted decision, emotional expression on the field, and his own captaincy identity. Because cricket history never remembers the captain who copied the greatness. It remembers the captain who survived the pressure long enough to become original and what they are capable of. And maybe that is the phase with Ruturaj which is making him a better captain and a better leader altogether.